Hello everybody, hope you're doing well. Today I am going to be going through my CD collection. It is of course ABBA to ZAPPA, and here we're going to be going through part L. Yes, I'm certainly not going to be taking any L's showing off this amazing collection of CDs. I'm going to be going through some classics hopefully, and maybe even better, I'll be going through some albums that you might have not heard before, and maybe I might pique your interest enough to give you an inkling to try them out, and you might discover something you like, or you might discover something you think is shit. Anyways, we're going to be going on to the La's, and this is a group that one of those artists that, a bit like I suppose the Stone Roses, made an album which they personally felt is something that was so good that they could not follow it up really with anything else, which is why the I can't even remember the name of the main musician behind the La's, but I know that he's renowned for years and years to say, I've been working on some tracks and I've been making sure that it's as good quality as the debut, and la-di-da and la-di-da. God, you've got to make yourself laugh, I suppose. And the La's, it is sad to say that I do personally feel that the main hit single is easily the best thing on here. I mean, of course, I could easily go on about how great There She Goes is. And the other single that they released for this, Timeless Melody, is pretty good too. Son of a Gun I quite like. The track Feeling, Liberty Ships is okay as well. But just, it's one of those things you don't really go back to all that often. I do end up kind of zoning out, and it becomes kind of mildly entertaining, relaxing sort of jangle pop. But you've got to give credit to Hit There She Goes, you know, it is an amazing track. But anyways, worth owning, I suppose. And then we're going to be talking about something which is, to most people, probably considered a bit better, maybe just a bit. We're going to be talking about Kendrick Lamar, and I don't like this album whatsoever, if you can't tell. You know, that actually was Good Kid. Oh no, I have got Good Kid, Mad City. I was about to talk about The Pimp a Butterfly. This is a bit out of order. But like having this out of order, it's out of order, son. First, Good Kid, Mad City. And I was about to praise this, but I still actually probably prefer listening to this. If you're unaware, Kendrick Lamar, very surprising. He's a West Coast rapper who's absolutely just engulfed and dominated just the hip-hop industry in terms of what's true hip-hop and what people kind of think with that. And you cannot escape how great basically all of his studio albums have been. And I am a huge fan of Kendrick Lamar. I got into him when I was in college with Good Kid, Mad City, and maybe that's why it's probably still my favourite, just for nostalgic value. Can you get nostalgia for something that's not even 10 years old? I suppose young people like me, maybe. And this album just basically really helped me get into more contemporary hip-hop. Around that time I was definitely into hip-hop, but I was mostly just discovering the classics. But this helped me realise how great a lot of albums that were coming out at that point in time were. And one of my favourites on here, well, it's the same with pretty much the three albums I'm about to talk about with Kendrick Lamar. You could pick out any, and I don't think many people would argue too harshly, saying it's a bad or a good choice. But again, I've got to try and limit myself to three songs. And again, I've got to just act like you guys have never tried any of these albums, you know. So the three tracks I would go for, again, I suppose it depends on what you like. I mean, my favourites are songs like Backseat Freestyle and Mad City, songs that are they're definitely the hardest hitting tracks. But I love songs like Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe, Money Trees, Poetic Justice, and those three tracks are definitely more chilled out tunes, but doesn't take away from how great they are. And Sing About Me, I'm Dying for First is absolutely fantastic too. Just a magnum opus there. So brilliant album. That probably my favourite. Definitely not knocking to Pimp a Butterfly though whatsoever. I remember when this came out, I was on the bus ride doing something. I can't remember what I was doing, but I remember playing this and I was like, what the hell? I don't think I was expecting this, because Wesley's Theory, I was like, oh, this is like a hybrid of funk and G-funk and obviously hip-hop, but it was an amalgamation of all sorts. But absolutely brilliant album. I got addicted to this very quickly. And again, just a brilliant album. Favourites on this, oh my goodness, I've had to pick three once again. I mean, I'm going to go on about how, again, I prefer more hard-hitting tracks, so my favourite is probably going to be Hood Politics. But other favourites, These Walls, definitely up there. King Kunta's definitely up there too. Oh man, so many great tracks on here. I love For Sale, the interlude on that used to be my favourite for a long time, but I've edged towards Hood Politics. Damn man. So yeah, if it can't, just me saying it's hard to pick a favourite, that surely should be an indication that you got to check this out if you haven't already. Guys, come on. I don't care if you don't even like hip hop. Please give this a shot. Come on. If you haven't already. I'm sure the small selection of audience that I've garnered so far on my channel, I'm sure you guys have checked this out, but you know. Anyways. And then we've got Damn. And this album, definitely not as good as the other two, but is still very, very good and has a few of some of my favourite Lamar tracks too. DNA is something that I've played constantly on my workout playlist. Just that beat switch is just absolutely fantastic. It just still gives us chills even 3 years later. Is it 4? How long has it been? Was it 2017? Yeah, 2017, 3 years later. Love Ya. Really like Humble. And XXX with You Too. Great track. God, Duckworth. All of those are great tracks. Like I said, there's a few that I'm not too big on. Wasn't big on Loyalty. I'm not too big on Lust either. But it's still overall a very solid album, and of course it's highly recommended. Still very highly recommended, but does pale a bit compared to these two. May as well quickly talk about LCD Sound System. These are the only two albums I've actually tried by them, and I know I'm doing myself a disservice because I know the following two albums, a lot of people feel that are absolutely great too. But anyways, I got into these guys because of Gorillaz, which I'll always thank for getting me into so many artists, because James Murphy was featured on one of their singles called Do Your Thing, which is from 2012, and if you haven't heard that, just in case, because it's not on an official album, it's an amazing song. So thanks to Gorillaz, I got into these guys and made me discover some great tunes. So the first, well, this is a weird one because the debut album, I've got like a 2-disc version where it's got a lot of like singles that weren't on the original. So like Losing My Edge, Give It Up, those are 2 amazing songs. And on the original album, I think Daft Punk is Playing at My House is kind of iconic for me. Movement, and the last track released might be my favourite LCD Sound System song, at least of the 2 that I've heard, the 2 albums. And of course, Sound of Silver, the second album, lots of great tracks on here as well. All My Friends, Us Versus Them, Watch the Tapes, the title track, New York, I Love You, But You're Bringing Me Down. That's also a classic. I've only heard 2 by them, but I've never heard a bad closer by the guys. So yes, I do need to get around to listen to the other 2 albums by them. And, right, what the hell? Oh, guys, I've done it again. Idiot. I've got an album here from the letter K. darn it. What a moron I am. What a poopy head. What a simple-brained dummy I am. What a fucking idiot I am. Sorry. So this group I've totally neglected is a group that I personally really, really like because of, well, let's say a certain member being part of Queens of the Stone Age. Right, I've never really looked into it. Is it Kios Akaios? I don't know. I am very sorry. And foolishly, I got rid of a couple of albums I've had by them, and I've kept this one, probably because it's my favourite. Welcome to Sky Valley. And this has some absolutely banging tunes. And this is, like Queens of the Stone Age, you've got to just drive to this thing. It's so good. Songs like the first track, when I first heard Gardenia's riff, I was like, this is so dope. This is, I love this album. And I honestly, I can't praise enough. It's like, it's just such, I think if I had like a desert island disc for driving down Route 66. Sounds like a good lyric, that, actually. Desert island disc riding down Route 66. This would be one of my choices. Right, now we're getting on to, of course, like pretty much every part so far, we'll have that one band. I've got quite a lot of CDs by them. What's it going to be? What's it going to be? I think you guys should kind of guess. We're going to be talking about Led Zeppelin. And these guys I got back into when I was in school, back when I was 13. And it's just me parents always played Led Zeppelin. And I looked into them, realised how acclaimed they are. And I thought, go on then, I'll give it a shot. Typical, kind of got into a best of. I think it's called like Led Zeppelin Classics or something. And there's another one called Mothership, which I used to play too on my iPod. And yeah, and then I thought, go on then, I'll just start buying the albums. Now, I used to have, well, it's kind of cheating here because I'm going a bit out of order. I used to have these sort of cases. And what I aimed to do a few years ago when they remastered them was I was going to buy the 2-disc remasters, but it's just the thing that I never coped up with. So I've got a couple. I've only got a couple. But yeah, absolutely adore Led Zeppelin and just made so many of my favourite tracks ever. And yes, they're kind of dad rock or whatever, but they're just undeniably fantastic. So, Led Zeppelin 1. This is a great album and it's probably in my, would it be top 3? Probably my top 3 Led Zeppelin albums. So on here, I personally feel there isn't a bad track on here. Good Times, Bad Times is pretty good, but I love the really bluesy tracks on here, like Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You, How Many More Times, I Can't Quit You, Baby is just so great. Of course, Communication Breakdown's a classic, but probably on Days Confused, bloody hell, man. But my favourite is probably Your Time Is Gonna Come, and then when it goes into Black Mountain Slide. I love that acoustic little instrumental. I think it's just so cool. Kind of like ominous sounding. But yeah, my favourite's probably Your Time Is Gonna Come. Next is Led Zeppelin 2. It's not a one that I play often. It's probably one of my least favourites. Thank you very much. No track listings on there. Yeah, probably one of my least favourites, but again, not saying that it's bad whatsoever, just something that I don't play that often. A Whole Lot of Love's a classic. The Lemon song I really like, Thank You, I really like as well. Heartbreak is a great track. Living, Loving, She's Just a Woman, I love that track. Which is it's actually probably my favourite on here. Ramble On's pretty good, Moby Dick. Yeah, take it what you will if you're obsessed with drum solos, and Bring It On Home's not bad. Yeah, I was saying I love the bluesy tracks on the debut, and you'd think I would like this more because this is definitely more blues rock, but again, I don't know, it's not one I play often. But I think this, Led Zeppelin 3, is an underappreciated album by them, if you can have an underappreciated Led Zeppelin album. Definitely more like folk rock. I'd almost go into nearly psychedelic territories as well, which they've never really dabbled in, but they nearly do with this. So it's like, is it like psychedelic folk? Not really, but I feel that it's got that sort of pastoral, whimsical sound to it, which edges it into those territories. Um, I mean, Immigrant Song isn't anything like that, but songs like, oh, I love, like, That's the Way. Bron Your Stomp's one of my favourite Led Zeppelin tracks, absolutely. Friends, Tangerine, um, yeah, On Gallows Poles, that's up there for me as well. Since I've Been Loving You is a great track. If it wasn't for the last track, Hats Off to Roy Harper, this would be a contender for one of my favourite Zeppelin albums too. But Led Zeppelin 4, I mean, you cannot deny how great this album is. You kind of want to be a bit of a hipster and go, oh no, it's not my favourite. But then I'm like, oh man, all of the tracks are at least great, and it's a 5-star record. Like, I kind of recommend this album higher enough for people who want to get into classic rock. All of the tracks are absolutely banging. What are my favourites? Well, damn. If I had to pick three, I'm always trying to go for three. My three would probably be Misty Mountain Hop, Going to California, and it's a tie between When the Levee Breaks and the Battle of Evermore. And I know you're probably thinking, you're not picking Stairway to Heaven because you just think it's overplayed. Well, you're right, okay? I know it doesn't take away how good of a track it is, but it's nearly getting to the point with me in my young 20s where if I didn't hear that track again, I would survive because I've heard it that many times. But I've always went with this album as my favourite Led Zeppelin album. Why? Well, and it's weird because a lot of people think it's one of the worst ones by them, but you know, the tracks that people think are awful on here are some of my favourite Led Zeppelin tracks, and it really just shows you that's just the great thing about opinions. Like, the songs I'm talking about is absolutely, well, The Crunch. I love that track. I know that sounds mental saying it. It's probably the weirdest thing I've said so far in this collection thing, but I love The Crunch. It's such a carefree track, and I don't know what it is about Led Zeppelin, but I've always felt that they're very, like, quite self-serious, but that's definitely some of the most enjoyable music in terms of a sort of happy-go-lucky and quite just humorous sort of, it's just a humorous track. I know they kind of do stuff like that later, and like songs like Hot Dog, and yeah, that is kind of shite, but I love The Crunch. And I don't know, I think it's because this album has No Quarter, which I've always said is my favourite Led Zeppelin track ever. So that, Dancing Days, the Rain Song, beautiful track. The Song Remains the Same, and Over the Hills and Far Away. I love those tracks, absolutely love them. It's Dear Maker, that Jamaican track. I do think that's a naff song, like, and it's the one song that I feel is holding this album away from it being like a full-on flawless album, at least to me. So, yeah, Houses of the Holy is my favourite. Physical Graffiti is another great album by them, double album, of course, and many considers probably their favourite as well, because just Led Zeppelin knocking out the park. There's not really that many tracks on here I'd consider filler. My favourites on here, well, Down by the Seaside, Custard Pie, The Rover, Trampled Underfoot, an amazing song. Kashmir, of course, one of the best songs I've ever done. In My Time of Dying as well. In the Light's a great track. It's a hard one. Yeah, but my favourite's probably either Trampled Underfoot or Kashmir. One of those two. And cheating a bit here because I don't really listen to these too much. These are my parents, but I've got two live albums. I've got The Song Remains the Same and Celebration Day. Haven't really heard them too much, but just thought I'd show them while I'm talking about Led Zeppelin. And then we're going to talk about an artist that originally I did have a lot more albums by him, but for some stupid reason I got rid of the old versions and thought, no, one day I am going to get the new remasters, and once again, a bit like In fact, exactly like Led Zeppelin, I just never got round to it. And now it's been so long, these aren't new anymore. These are from 2010. Jesus. I'm talking about John Lennon. And of course, eventually I'm going to be talking about every member of the Beatles' solo material. I have got a few, well, maybe I've only got one by one member, poor Ringo. But I have got a lot of albums by the other members. And this is my little, it is a tiny collection of John Lennon albums. So the ones I used to have Mind Games and I used to have Walls of Bridges, but I just had old versions and I wanted to get the 2010 remasters. Because I don't know what it is, it's quite weird. I think with us collecting CDs for so long, you get really weird, like, I don't know, it's maybe just me. I have these in chronological order. That's one thing. Some people might not, but for me, I love the idea of having like digipacks. And the reason why I do think like that is just I like the idea of having digipacks. I feel it's nicer, and as well as that, the thinner. So like when you've got a massive collection, you can fit more CDs in. So literally, one of the reasons I'm happy to get a remastered and replace another one is just because I'm saving that tiny amount. So maybe if I got a few of them, I could fit one more CD on my shelf. It's pathetic, but hey, if you have a very dedicated hobby like mine, or just a dedicated hobby in general, I think most people would look into said hobbies and go, "Oh, it's a bit much, isn't it?" But whatever, man. It's not harming anybody. So these are the three that I've got by him. So this is the first album by him, John Lennon Plastic Ono Band, and it's my favourite by him as well because I remember looking at the cover and thinking, it's going to be nice and serene, and it's like it's a very heavy album, and it's got some just songs that really, bloody hell, I thought from 1970, this is really like kind of grabbing you by the collar. Mother, Hold On, which is like one of my favourites by him. Just like, it's kind of like a little ditty, but it's just still really heartfelt. I Found Out, biting track. Working Class Hero, of course. Isolation, God. I mean, the last track's called My Mummy's Dead. Oh my God. This is such a fantastic album, and I really, really recommend it. But just like I say, don't go into it thinking, oh, a nice tree, and there's Lennon and Yoko having a nice little chill, nice little kip after a nice little picnic, and there's little bunny rabbits jumping about. Oh, this is going to be a nice album. No, don't go into it like that, but it's a fantastic album. Imagine, it's a classic, but I don't listen to it that often. Some tracks I feel are, of course, classics. I love Oh Yoko. Imagine's a great track, but again, maybe a bit of a issue that I have also with songs like Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven, but hey ho. Jealous Sky is fantastic. I Don't Want to Be a Soldier Mama, I Don't Want to Die, great track. Give Me Some Truth is great. So maybe it's just again one of those things where I've heard it so often that I just need to take a nice big break from it and go into it a bit more refreshed and enjoy it a lot more than I can. And then we're going to jump on to Double Fantasy. This is something that I attempted to review. Yes, I say it's attempted because I don't think I'm a good reviewer now, really, but I don't think I was a very good reviewer at all back when I reviewed this. But this was back then where I was thinking, hey, I thought Yoko Ono was a weird screechy woman who couldn't do any good tracks. What's going on? Why are some of these tracks that you said that the credited to her actually good? And obviously now you I just kind of think some of the Yoko tracks on here are better than the Lennon tracks, seriously. So, man. Okay, so if I had to say a favourite Lennon song on here, it would be Beautiful Boy, Darling Boy. But if I had to pick a favourite Yoko song on here, it might be Hard Times Are Over. But there's so many great tracks on here. I love songs like Watching the Wheels and I'm Losing You. Give Me Something's a great rocker. Love that track. That's like a proper new wave, just banger. Love Woman, of course, that's a classic. So yeah, this is a great album, and If I need to repeat it, don't think that Yoko Ono's a weird screeching woman, everybody. Don't go into it thinking she ruined the Beatles. She didn't. She is a very talented woman. And as easy it is to make fun of her, please give this album a try and don't let it be put off just because you think Yoko Ono's on it. Yes, she done stuff in the 70s which is very jarring, but this is a lot more, what's the way of putting it? More of an interest to the general public. I don't know. It's more easy to get into than that. I'll just say that. And you're missing out on a great album if you are doing stuff like that. Yeah. Now, going on to something totally different, which is very, very common with my collection. I'm going on to something which is a group called Less Than Jake. Now, who's Less Than Jake? They're a bit of a forgotten 90s group, I'm saying a bit of. And these guys are ska punk. And what is ska punk? Well, basically imagine awesome skate punk music, but mash that with just killer horns. And if you think that sounds weird, maybe it is a bit weird at first, but you'd grow to love it. And this is one of those lovable albums that I will never get sick of. And it just gets us in a good mood. And of course, the standout track, and the track that I highly recommend to all of you, is a song called All My Best Friends Are Metalheads. I love that song. Can't recommend that song enough. So, yeah, really recommend this. This is like a 2 CD, so there's Hello Rock View. And the second album, I think it's the album after, called Losing Streak. I don't know if the album cover's here. It's weird. It's not. Huh. Oh. Just randomly, like the third last page, that album too, which is also really good. Yeah, but good twofer, but you've got to try out All My Friends Are Metalheads. Moving on. Oh, I don't have too many of these, but you might occasionally, when you're out and about, find these collection of albums where they're like little cardboard sleeves and they collect 3, 4, maybe 5 or even more albums by a particular artist or band. And what I got here is a 5 CD of Level 42. And I am really doing myself a disservice because I've only heard, apart from like the hit songs on other albums, I've only really listened to Level 42, the album, but I love it. It's really, really good. It's the song 43. Love that track. And Why You're Leaving, Almost There. Those are great tracks. Turn It On. And of course, I've got to talk about the song which got me into Level 42, which I hear all the time on 80s hits, which is the song Lessons in Love. Great tune. And I really need to go back and listen to the other 4 albums because, like I say, I am doing myself a disservice. So, yeah, this is the collection. I'll quickly show you them all. Like I say, I can't talk extensively whatsoever about these, but this is the debut, self-titled. This is The Pursuit of Accidents. This is the E-Colours, or read that wrong. This is True Colours. I think they could have done another take there. It's kind of a bit blurry, lads. World Machine. Can't get more 80s looking than that. And Running in the Family. There you go, Level 42. Oh, and do you know who got me into Level 42, really? Tyler, the Creator. Nardwar interview that he done most recently. Briefly mentions Level 42. He mentions them alongside Paul Weller. He's talking a bit about Paul Weller and he's saying, oh, I love artists like that. And I was like, oh, Level 42. I think I've heard of them. So thanks, Tyler. Moving on. Right. This is a ridiculous one. So, Lasse, don't know what it means. This is an artist which I've had this album for years and I've never really properly tried it. Now, why is this? This is supposed to be very, very good Latin sort of folk and rock. Well, this is one of those stupid albums where you can't rip it. You try and rip it on your computer, and it's all distorted as all hell. So, yes, now that I can stream stuff, I'll just go on YouTube. I should give this more of a try. And it's just a thing where I've never put it into a CD player and listened to it. But I used to be obsessed with burning CDs and ripping them so I could, play them on my iPod. And I was just like, what is going on here? Is this noise rock? No, it's just who is it who done this? Was it Warner Brothers? I'm gonna blame it on somebody. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it's a company that's notorious for all of their albums that are, distributed under their label. Do that thing. I don't know how they do it. So yeah, I've yet to listen to this, annoyingly. Moving on. So we've got a single here. And have you guys tried much grime? It's getting a lot more popular over in different areas of the different seven seas. But of course it originated over here in the UK. Predominantly got popular in the early 2000s and it was very, what is it? It's not just UK hip hop, it kind of meshes two-step and other sort of subgenres which are popular, or at least were popular over here in the 2000s. So like dance music, but incorporated with hip hop. So the beats are excellent and I suppose a bit like trap rap. Some people just listen more to the beats than to what the MC's saying. I'm not acting like I'm a huge connoisseur of grime. I've only really tried the grime artists that are already popular or just renowned as some of the best. But I do want to talk a bit about this single. This is Lethal Bizzle with the song Pow! Now, did that give you a shock? Did that get your adrenaline pumping? Now, this is what this song's all about. This song was so infamous when this came out in 2004. Oh, sorry, 2004, you get me? Yeah. That it got banned in nightclubs and bars because pretty much every time the song came out, it started riots because people just got so pumped up. And this is such an essential listen. Now, there's lots of different variations of this song. Lethal Bizzle has done like 3 different versions. I don't mean like on the single there's like different versions. I mean, there is. But I mean, like, over the years, he's done, like, the 2010 version and stuff like that. So, I mean, I do recommend the remix on here. So, it's basically, like, an extended part 2 of the first track of Pow Forward. So, there's the original, which is literally called Original on here. And then the Bizzle remix, so it's literally, like, part 2 because it's more different. It's not just a remix where it's, like, the same lyrics, like it's got like the same MCs on the first one, like with more verses. So it's an extended version basically, and it's absolutely mental. It's got like, it must have 8 different grime artists all on the one track, and they're all just as mental as the other. I don't remember the name of the last MC, but he's my favourite because he just sounds like he's just about to snap. And I'll not do an impression of him, but I'm pretty sure his little verse is, you ain't gonna bring arms house, as in, you ain't gonna bring weapons over at my house. I'll bring arms house to your mum's house, and you ain't gonna start no beef. Bring some beef, and you'll lose some teeth. That should be one of those genius annotators, shouldn't I? I'll be good at that. Anyways, yeah, so this is essential. And also hip hop, and also pretty much as mental. I've got an album by, oh yeah, Little John and the East Side Boys. Okay. And this is an interesting album. Maybe not like absolutely essential, but there are some great tracks on here. Love Throw It Up. Get Low is a classic in my opinion for this sort of subgenre. And I'll tell you what is essential for you all. You've got to try out a little skit. It's like a little I don't know if we call it a skit, I suppose. It's like a little interlude. And it's called Pitbull's Cuban Ride Out. That's right, featuring Pitbull. And this, I think it's only about 1.5 minutes. This is before Pitbull became popular. This is way before that. And this is pretty much the one time where you might actually say, Pitbull's spitting on this. He's actually really good. So for you to actually listen to a good Pitbull song, this is worth listening to. Also, I'm throwing this under, this should be under like various compilations I suppose, but I thought why not, because it's under L. I've got the soundtracks to the Lord of the Rings films. And this is essential not only because the music in it overall is fantastic, all 3 films I absolutely love, but of course, the Cocteau Twins connoisseur, I've got to listen to this because Elizabeth Fraser sings on a few of these songs, and the other female artists on here are some of my favourite female singers ever, such as Enya and Annie Lennox. So this is great, great music. All 3 albums are fantastic. Talk about Lil Uzi Vert. Yes, I've got an album by Lil Uzi Vert. So this is Love Is Rage 2. So Lil Uzi Vert, I am a big fan of him. I got into him when he dropped this Lil Uzi versus the World mixtape. And I remember I just randomly heard the name, I can't remember where. I think I went on Dat Piff or something and it was being advertised there. And I happened to actually just randomly choose P's and Q's. I wasn't suggested it, I just put that one on randomly. And as soon as I heard those SpongeBob SquarePants accordions, I was like, oh yeah, I like this. Because I was getting into Little Yachty's first mixtape, and it really got us into that sort of tranquil, happy cloud rap music, which I was already quite into anyways with Lil B, but I was just really excited to see a new upcoming artist like using those sort of ideas and concepts, but using it with like a massive platform. And I am still a big Lil Uzi fan. If you want to hear me talk about his previous albums, technically, you can feel free to check out Busted Speakers. Gotta give a shout out to Busted Speakers. Do great reviews all the time, but specifically there's one with me featured. So if you ever want to hear me talk about Lil Uzi Vert more in depth, then feel free to click on that. And I do briefly mention that I do really enjoy this. That's why I have it on CD, of course. And I think it's underrated. I think there's a lot of great tracks on here, and I don't think there's any misses on here, to be honest. So what are my favourites on here? Well, my favourites on here is probably either... Okay, I'll pick 3 once again. I'm going to go for For Real, Neon Guts, and I think, is it X? I think it's just called X. Those are my favourites, but I love How to Talk, Pretty Miami. There's loads of great tracks on here. And also this is a kind of deluxe edition, I suppose you'd call it. Has some bonus tracks, and all the bonus tracks are as good, if not better, than some of the ones on the original album. And they've garnered quite a bit of rep as well for the Uzi Vert fans. And the last song on the deluxe edition is called 20 Minutes. And it's well worth listening to. And there's a song on there called Skr Skr, Skr Skr. And I think a lot of people would say that that's trash, but again, that's kind of like the hip-hop equivalent of the grunge, maybe, where I think a lot of people wouldn't like it, but I do. Yeah, so there you go. Love Is Rage 2, Lil Uzi Vert. Oh, now, this is some good stuff. This is really good stuff. This is Lone's Galaxy Garden. I love this record. So this is just what I go to when I want some really nice, just like euphoric, I suppose, electronic dance music. And it just reminds me of something like on the cover. It just makes us feel like I'm going to a neon flavoured paradise. And some really fantastic songs on here. And my total recommendation to you guys is the song Rain Dance. Love that track. So this is great music. Oh, I've still got this. Oh yeah, because I bought this on Amazon and I got the MP3 frill. I got the MP3 free. It's hard to say. Lord's Melodrama. Yeah, great album. I can't really fault it too much. Once again, it's a kind of short but sweet listen. No bad tracks on here. My favourite on here probably is. Ooh, it's a hard one. Homemade Dynamite's a banger. Sober's great. Perfect Places is good. I think it would have to be the Hard Feelings Loveless track. That might be probably my favourite. But yeah, kind of. Would you call this art pop? Maybe. I suppose art pop, contemporary R&B, something like that. But yeah, great music. Oh man, I've had this album for absolutely ages. So this is. I used to have the album before this as well. I don't know where that's gone, but this is Love. So Forever Changes, it's a 1967 album, and I believe it wasn't very popular when it came out, and just garnered a lot of very, very solid reputation as being a fantastic overlooked album. And I've had this for absolutely ages and ages. It's kind of like, I don't know if you call it more psychedelic pop than rock, but uses these orchestral arrangements, I suppose a bit like the Moody Blues does on a similar album around this year. But on this, it's just got some of my favourites once again. The first track, Alone Again, or you've got to listen to this. If you haven't heard this, please listen to Alone Again, or it's just, when I first heard that track, I was absolutely blown away. You've got to hear that track. The Red Telephone's fantastic as well. Bummer in the Summer, House Is Not a Motel is a great track. The Daily Planet I really like too. Yeah, this is a classic. It's a classic. Now, all three albums here I haven't gotten around to try yet because it's a new it's a new band that I haven't really tried too much of. But I just picked all of these three up because I saw them really cheap, and I've forgotten the name of the album, so I can't. That doesn't sound good. I love an album that I don't even remember the name of because it's been a while since I've heard it. But I'm talking about Low, a group called Low. And this is the three albums that I've got. So if you're a Low fan, please let me know if I've picked up some good ones or some of the worst ones. I've got The Great Destroyer. I've got Things We Lost in the Fire. And Trust. Now this album, which I can't remember the name of, annoyingly, I'm going to just put it here. I know it's a lot different to what these guys done, because I know typically the more slowcore, but this album, which I've heard, is like ambient noise pop, and it blew my mind because I absolutely loved it. So I don't think they've ever done anything quite similar to that. However, even knowing that, I really enjoy the songwriting. So if the songwriting's good, even if it's a different genre, why not? So yeah, those three albums I'm going to try and get round to trying soon. Now this one is going to really stand out here. Maybe not in a very good way, I don't know. Because you guys know me, I'm the guy who likes his death metal and black metal. So it makes sense that I like Lilitone. Please pajama, pop pour vous. Yep. So what is this? So this falls under the subgenre Pico Pop, which is extremely cutesy ambient pop, kind of kitschy, I suppose. But if it works, it works. A bit like power metal, I suppose. You might find it corny, but if it starts in the right place, I don't know. If it works, it works. It's weird. So this is the go-to album. If the album title doesn't suggest, you've got to listen to this when going to sleep, because the sort of airy, whispery vocals and the instrumentation, which is very homespun, like it uses a lot of xylophone or glockenspiel, don't really know which one, or ukuleles. I'm making it sound like a cheesy bad advert. There's no, like whistling, it's that sort of shite. It's not like that. It's not like that. It's, I don't know, it's just really peaceful and tranquil, and I love it. Absolutely love it. My choosing song would probably be the last track, Floating Away, which is, I suppose, a bit of a extent. It's like 7 or 8 minutes or something, but like the title suggests, it really is kind of like you're floating away. Just close your eyes and you're drifting off into dreamy, snoozy land. I don't know. But yeah, this probably does stand out in my collection, but I love this album. I forgot how I got into these guys, but yeah, this is a great album, Lull the Tone. Next, I've got three. Bloody hell, didn't think I had that many. 3 albums by Lupe Fiasco. So I've got Food and Liquor, I've got Tetsu and Youth, and Drogus Wave. So, I mean, I'll just quickly say, so Food and Liquor, this guy, Lupe Fiasco, great artist. Some of my favourite lyricism I've heard in a hip-hop record is on Tetsu and Youth. But Food and Liquor is a great album. I love the album cover as well, I love that. Thanks to Kanye, basically, with him being featured on Touch the Sky. He kind of had a bit more of a platform than he was going to have before. So songs like Kick Push is a great track. I Gotcha, Real, the Emperor's soundtrack's fantastic. So this is great. Sunshine too. And Tetsu and Youth, I bought this when it came out. It was 2015, was it that long ago or something? I can't remember. This is more of an intense listen because there's some really long tracks on here. And it's been ages since I've heard this album, but I remember being blown away by it. So I mean specifically the song Mural. I think it's nearly like 9 minutes long, so I don't know, it depends on how much you enjoy his lyrics. But the instrumental too is fantastic. I love the song Madonna, great track on there. No Scratches is great. Dots and Lines is a really nice track. This is probably my favourite Lupe album that I've heard out of these 3. And Drogus Wave, again, very long album, so I can't really judge it too much, just because it's a long album, and again, I haven't really heard it too many times. Definitely need to give it more of a listen. Okay, now this is a lot more different. Lurker of Chalice. This is a one-off album by this guy, I believe American-based, went under loads of different pseudonyms. And this album is very, very heavy. It's atmospheric black metal, but it's quite disturbing, and just, again, I suppose, like all best black metal albums, it's very cathartic. But I don't know if you would class it as a sort of patience tester, but again, it just depends on how much you kind of involving yourself in the music. I get really sucked in with it, and I think it's one of my favourite black metal albums. So this is the self-titled Lurker of Chalice. I didn't know it was on Southern Lord Records. That's pretty cool. Yeah. And finally, everybody, going to something a bit more rock and roll. We've got Lynyrd Skynyrd, pronounced Leonard Skin Nerd. Thanks, guys. Help us out there. Yeah, so of course this album has the song Freebird, which is a brilliant, brilliant tune and has been used in so many films. I think my favourite use of it is in a film called The Devil's Rejects. Not to spoil anything, but very well used there. And this is just a great, great album. Again, I suppose going into classics like Led Zeppelin and stuff, this is an essential album if you want to get into your 60s and 70s rock music. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. This was yet another installment of ABBA to ZAPPA, and I hope you guys are taking care of yourselves, and I hope you stick around because I've got a lot of video plans for October. So once again, take care of yourselves, hope you're doing well, and hopefully I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening.